Search the Scriptures, and we are on study number 9 in the book of Deuteronomy today, which covers chapter 9, verse 1, all the way through the 11th verse of chapter number 10. And there are three different questions that we are going to ask in this study, or ask and answer. The first one is this: after they conquered the promised land, what further danger would follow on the heels of victory? And how does Moses in this passage seek to safeguard them against it? Second question: what does the example of Moses teach as to the responsibility and the power of intercessory prayer? And note the costly nature of his prayer and the uncompromising dealing with sin that accompanied it. The third question: the incident as a whole demonstrates that God's dealings with his people are entirely of grace. Try to discover how the following points are illustrated in this chapter. A, the combination of grace and justice. B, the triumph of grace over sin. And C, the provision of a mediator. And finally, D, the establishment of a covenant. Well, let's look at Deuteronomy chapter number 9, beginning with the first verse and going through chapter 10 and verse number 11. Hear, O Israel, you are now about to cross the Jordan, to go in and possess the nations greater and stronger than you, with large cities that have walls up to the sky. The people are strong and tall, Anakites. You know about them, and you've heard it said, who can stand up against the Anakites? But be assured today that the Lord your God is the one who goes across ahead of you like a devouring fire. He will destroy them. He will subdue them before you, and you will drive them out and annihilate them quickly, as the Lord has promised you. And after the Lord your God has driven them out before you, do not say to yourself, the Lord has brought me here to take possession of this land because of my righteousness. No, it is on account of the wickedness of these nations that the Lord is going to drive them out before you. It is not because of your righteousness or your integrity that you are going in to take possession of their land. But on account of the wickedness of these nations, the Lord your God will drive them out before you, to accomplish what he swore to your forefathers, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Understand then that it is not because of your righteousness that the Lord your God is giving you this good land to possess, for you are a stiff-necked people. Remember this, and never forget how you provoked the Lord your God to anger in the desert. From the day you left Egypt until you arrived here, you've been rebellious against the Lord. At Horeb you aroused the Lord's wrath so that he was angry enough to destroy you. When I went up on the mountain to receive the tablets of stone, the tablets of the covenant that the Lord had made with you, I stayed on the mountain 40 days and 40 nights. I ate no bread and drank no water. The Lord gave me 2 stone tablets inscribed by the finger of God. On them were all the commandments the Lord proclaimed to you on the mountain out of the fire on the day of the assembly. At the end of the 40 days and 40 nights, the Lord gave me the 2 stone tablets, the tablets of the covenant. Then the Lord told me, go down from here at once, because your people whom you brought out of Egypt have become corrupt. They've turned away quickly from what I commanded them, and have made a cast idol for themselves. And the Lord said to me, I've seen this people, and they are a stiff-necked people indeed. Let me alone so that I may destroy them and blot out their name from under heaven. And I will make you into a nation stronger and more numerous than they. So I turned and went down from the mountain while it was ablaze with fire, and the 2 stone tablets of the covenant were in my hands. And when I looked, I saw that you had sinned against the Lord your God. You had made for yourselves an idol cast in the shape of a calf. You had turned aside quickly from the way that the Lord had commanded you. So I took the 2 tablets and threw them out of my hands, breaking them to pieces before your eyes. Then once again I fell prostrate before the Lord. For 40 days and 40 nights I ate no bread and drank no water because of all the sin you had committed, doing what was evil in the Lord's sight, and so provoking him to anger. I feared the anger and the wrath of the Lord, for he was angry enough with you to destroy you. But again the Lord listened to me, and the Lord was angry enough with Aaron to destroy him, but at that time I prayed for Aaron too. Also I took that sinful thing of yours, the calf you had made, and burned it in the fire. Then I crushed it and ground it to powder as fine as dust, and threw the dust into a stream that flowed down the mountain. You also made the Lord angry at Taberah, at Massa, and at Kibroth Hattaavah. And when the Lord sent you out from Kadesh Barnea, he said, Go up and take possession of the land that I have given you. But you rebelled against the command of the Lord your God. You did not trust him or obey him. You've been rebellious against the Lord ever since I've known you. I lay prostrate before the Lord those 40 days and 40 nights because the Lord had said he would destroy you. I prayed to the Lord, and he said, O sovereign Lord, do not destroy your people, your own inheritance that you redeemed by your great power and brought out of Egypt with a mighty hand. Remember your servants Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Overlook the stubbornness of this people, their wickedness and their sin. Otherwise the country from which you brought us will say, because the Lord was not able to take them into the land that he had promised them, because he hated them, he brought them out to put them to death in the desert. But they are your people, your inheritance, that you brought out by your great power and your outstretched arm. Chapter 10. At that time the Lord said to me, Chisel out 2 stone tablets like the first ones, and come up to me on the mountain. Also made a wooden chest. I will write on the tablets the words that were on the first tablets which you broke, and then you are to put them in the chest. So I made the ark out of acacia wood, and chiseled out the 2 stone tablets like the first ones, and I went up on the mountain with the 2 tablets in my hand. The Lord wrote on these tablets what he had written before the 10 commandments he had proclaimed to you on the mountain out of the fire on the day of the assembly. And the Lord gave them to me, and then I came back down the mountain and put the tablets in the ark that I had made as the Lord commanded me, and they are there now. And the Israelites traveled from the wells of the Jaconites to Masore, and there Aaron died and was buried, and Eleazar his son succeeded him as priest. And from there they traveled to Gudgoda and on to Jotbatha, a land with streams of water. At that time the Lord set apart the tribe of Levi to carry the ark of the covenant of the Lord, to stand before the Lord, to minister and to pronounce blessings in his name, as they still do today. That is why the Levites have no share or inheritance among their brothers. The Lord is their inheritance, as the Lord your God told them. Now I had stayed on the mountain for 40 days and nights, as I did the first time, and the Lord listened to me at this time also, and it was not his will to destroy you. Go, the Lord said to me, and lead the people on their way, so that they may enter and possess the land that I swore to their forefathers to give them. Now to the questions. Question number 1. After they conquered the promised land, what further danger would follow on the heels of victory? And how does Moses in this passage seek to safeguard them against it? Well, after conquering the promised land, Israel faced the danger of thinking that the promised land was something they deserved, or something they had earned, based on their own righteousness. But Moses quickly reminds them that they were anything but righteous and anything but deserving of any reward whatsoever. Elsewhere in Scripture it refers to our righteousness as a filthy rags, and that was certainly the case with Israel. And Moses made it quite clear that they had nothing but trouble, were nothing but trouble to the Lord, and that in actuality they were lucky to even still be alive. Question number 2, what does the example of Moses teach as to the responsibility and the power of intercessory prayer? And note the costly nature of his prayer and the uncompromising dealing with sin that accompanied it. Well, Moses went to great extremes in order to intercede for the people that he was called to lead. On at least 2 different occasions he fasted for 40 days and nights for them. He went without bread or water during that entire time, and he based his plea for the people on the basis that their destruction would not contribute to the glory of God. He reminded the Lord that it was by his mighty hand that they had been delivered, and that his hand alone could sustain them. Third question, the incident as a whole demonstrates that God's dealings with his people are entirely of grace. Try to discover how the following points are illustrated in this chapter: the combination of grace and justice, the triumph of grace over sin, the provision of a mediator, and the establishment of a covenant. Well, grace was shown by the fact that God had every right to destroy the people, but instead he continued to lead them into an undeserved promised land. He demonstrated justice by demanding that they spend 40 years wandering in the desert in order to learn their lessons of disobedience. His grace, one day in that on the day that Israel ultimately achieved the purpose to which God has called it, And yes, sin did have devastating effects in the desert, but the desert was something that was left behind. It's clear then that the mediation of Moses on behalf of the people was key to their success. Without his intercession, they most certainly would have been destroyed. And his mediation was based on the covenant-keeping nature of the Lord. He knew that God ultimately would fulfill his promises to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. God has promises for you today, for your life, things that he has agreed in covenant in the Bible to do and to see through for you. The question is, are you stiff-necked, or are you being obedient to the Lord today? I hope that your life today is bringing glory to God. I hope this study's been a blessing to you. God bless and have a fantastic rest of your day.